Yes, YouTube, I hope that you're good. It's Ben Hawksworth at The Coach Consultant, and today I want to be talking about the importance of organizational structure, micro teams, and I'm actually going to talk about the Amazon 2 pizza model. So when you start to scale, right, you're going to get to a point where you can't do everything yourself. So whether this is down to video editing and posting, whether this is setting, whether this is closing, whether this is a coaching team, management, operations, events, and you might not be in a position right now when you look at that type of stuff, but you will be down the line, right? So the Amazon 2 pizza model is something that I picked up around probably about 3-4 years ago. Obviously, I am not fucking Amazon in any way, shape or form, and I never will be, and I'm never gonna ever get to even a scratch on the surface of what they've done in business, right? But you can always pick up the type of stuff that they're doing right. So the 2 pizza model basically is how they have basically, in essence, built out their organizational structure. So in essence, the concept is that when they have meetings and they have self-contained sectors, that within that meeting of a 6 to 10 person team, they'll be able to share a pizza, right? And if there are more people involved, they won't be able to share that pizza, right? So, and it's this model. So if you want to know more detail on it, just Google Amazon 2 pizza model. There's loads of YouTube videos on it as well. But basically what this got me thinking about is how you need to make sure that you've got micro-focused independent teams, right? So for example, when I'm looking at my business right now, I have a content production system team, I have a YouTube production system team, I have a setting team, I have a closing team. And basically, in essence, what I did is I took their kind of model and put it into my own business, where rather than just having everybody in one place, I made sure that all of these groups were basically self-contained, right? So when you've got so many different moving parts, what's happening in your business, it does start to become chaos at times. And what I really loved about the Amazon model is the fact that, in essence, if you looked at the Amazon model, in essence, you've obviously got like the kind of top level middle management, and you've got like kind of CEOs and directors and everything else. But from that point, it's in essence like group. And how it basically works is that group doesn't really need to communicate that much with the other one, because it's all in essence self-contained. So just as like a little bit of a walkthrough process, if I look at my content production team, so you have me basically who is filming, that then gets passed on to an editor, then that then gets passed on to the actual scheduling. From that point, it then gets scheduled, then it gets posted. So I will basically manage everything to do with my social media content production within 3 or 4 people, right? When it comes to like YouTube's right now, it starts with the system. So I'll do the overview design for the system. From that point, then I'll film, I'll then design, I'll structure it, it'll go off to editing. Once it's back to editing, it'll go to the scheduler. Once it's scheduled, then you rinse and repeat. And what you've basically got is you've got this system where people are coming in and they are kind of working within their own individual sector. So some of the areas that I've seen within fitness businesses where they've kind of done this wrong is, for example, they've got the coaching team, they've got the team managers, they've got the setters, they've got the closers, they've got the graphic designers, they've got basically everybody in one fucking place. And what you've got to take into account is what is the path of least resistance here? Like putting everything into one place and expecting it to be organized is not going to be the most efficient way to do something. So one of my biggest beliefs basically is and what our methodology is, and that's basically the S3 smart scaling system. And in essence, within that system, it's all about doing a step-by-step process and doing everything in sequence and in sync, and everything needs to have a system and organization and formatting, right? So this basically will completely and utterly dictate the scalability that you have to any system or any approach that you have in business. So when you're looking at your coaching team, for example, like have your coaching team where they're all just focusing on coaching, right? They don't need to do anything else other than just focus on coaching, because if they're coming in and thinking, right, I've got to think about creating content for the company, or I've got to come in and be involved in the setting process or the closing process and everything else on that side, you're in essence kind of ruining your departmentalization. So in essence, what we want to always do is think, right, that is a self-contained group. The only thing that they need to focus on is what they are delivering and what they are focusing on, right? When it comes to graphic design, for example, I have another graphic design team. So it's basically, this is the system, this is the organization, this is the graphics that we need, this is when it needs to be designed, this is when it gets quality assured, this is when it gets posted, then it gets posted the next thing, right? So when you're looking at your current setup with how you are doing things at the moment, and I might do a YouTube video on actually how I run my whole let me know in the comments if you want to see that, but how I in essence run all my individual departmentalizations within Google Drive. But when you're looking at your company right now, I want you to really think about, even if it's just you on your own, I want you to think, right, how can I actually organize this better? right? So if I know that I need to create content, how do I actually organize that into a design system, a management system, when it comes to editing, when it comes to scheduling, when it comes to everything to do with setting and closing, for example, right? What is the process and what is the step-by-step format in terms of deciding the lead magnet, building the lead magnet, integrating the lead magnet, launching the lead magnet, following up on the lead magnet? And that's basically the type of perspective that I want, is that you're always thinking, right, everything to do with my content is all organized here, right? I don't need all my other shit in there because this is going to become chaos and it's become a mess. Everything to do with my content is all in one place, and there's an easy step-by-step system and format in which that is going to operate. Everything to do with coaching clients and assets associated, that's all going to be in one place. And this is an area that's really is kind of overlooked in the fitness business mentoring scene, because, like, for example, my offer is, and I've spoken about it before, we provide people with the skills and systems to reach more people, generate consistent leads and close sales, right? So all people ever do is, it's like, right, how do we get better at content? How do we come in and how do we get more leads? How do we close more sales? Whereas what the gap that I kind of saw in the industry, and why we have clients who stay with us for so long, is because I was like, well, people know that they need to be doing it, but they haven't actually got a step-by-step process to do it. They don't actually have the right type of format when it comes to actually managing that type of system. They don't have the actual step-by-step strategy. They don't actually have the step-by-step standard operating procedure. So in essence, that's what I kind of did, I've done in the last 12 months, is I manipulated and not manipulated, but I created every single thing that I know about business with system strategies and SOPs, and built in something called Evo 2. So in essence, this was an absolute master hub that will basically manage everything in these individual self-contained systems. So for example, right now, like, more often than not, when I have a lot of conversations with online coaches and personal trainers, I'll turn around and go, well, you know what you need to do, don't you? But yeah, I do. Why are you not doing it? I don't have time. I don't know how to manage it. And I truly believe in my heart of hearts that online coaches and personal trainers do have a very good idea of what they need to do when it comes to coaching, when it comes to sales, when it comes to content, when it comes to all that. And don't get me wrong, that's why we have the educational portals and stuff there. But the biggest gap that I'm seeing at the moment is from an organizational and management perspective. So a lot of the time, if you get really good at managing these individual self-contained sections, you might not even need to fucking hire someone. So you might not even have to pay someone, because you're managing your own departmentalization within your company as a single coach, or you might have an additional coach or whatever it is, to that high standard that the need to actually come in and hire is dramatically reduced, because you are so efficient, you are so organized, you are so well managed. So how I do everything with mine is I will have everything in an individual drive, right, within my master format. So when we have like one-to-one clients and people on the Propel project, for example, I'll always say, right, everything to do with acquisition, sales and sales management needs to go into that drive. Everything to do with business development, retention, results goes into that drive. Everything to do with social media goes into that drive. And then from that point, you dive in, and then say, for example, you went into acquisition and sales. It's like, right, everything to do with setting, I've got it all in one place there. Everything to do with sales, I've got it all in one place there. Everything to do with lead magnets, email marketing, and whatever else. And just having this like standard operating procedure and this format where you're looking at your company and you know, right, if I hire a setter, if I hire a closer, if I hire a coach, or if I hire a graphic designer or whatever it is, your scalability and speed in which you can hire and upskill is much greater, because all you need to do is just give them that asset and give them that training. And that's an area that I think that so many online coaches really need to focus on, and that is just really heavily focusing on the actual standard operating procedure and the step-by structure in which they can actually manage these micro systems and micro approaches, and specifically within obviously departmentalization, for example, between client results and retention, customer journey, sales, setting, email marketing, paid media, community, whatever it is. Just really focus on actually just organizing your shit, right? Because if you are turning up every single day and the only thing that you're doing is thinking, right, I need to get through these check-ins, and then I need to post on social media, and then I need to message a few people, like that's the reason why people are stuck, is because they know that they need to be doing more, but they just don't have the time, the efficiency, and the management formats to actually be able to enable them to do more. And I've seen this from hundreds and hundreds of people, and I'm like, well, if you actually build out your day-to-day schedule in this type of format and time block when you're writing emails, when you're doing YouTubes, when you're doing content, when you're doing setting, when you're doing sales, when you're doing extra learning, now we've got that time blocked. Sweet. The next thing that you need is to make sure they've actually got a management format. So for example, I use Google Drive. You may use something like Asana or Monday.com or whatever it may be, but just really actually consider and heavily focus on the actual management and organizational format. Because if we go all the way back to what I spoke about at the start, the Amazon 2 pizza model, based on how they run their organizational structure, They would not be able to do what they do and how they do it if they didn't have that individualized, self-contained departmentalization teams. Because you imagine Amazon, where it's coming down from the top and they're just trying to fucking organize everything in, rather than going, right, in essence, how they run it is, here's a startup, here's a startup, here's a startup, here's a startup. So they have Amazon as an enterprise, but all these different locations, in essence, are independent startup businesses that have independent directors, independent designers, independent email marketing people, or all these different roles that each individual kind of department and one of the massive fucking Amazon buildings that you have, for example. But it's all based on location, right? So that's obviously talking multi-billion, but when we're looking at us, right, which is unfortunately, anyone who's watching this YouTube video, you're probably never going to become a billionaire. I'm sorry. Might become a millionaire, good chance. If you work really hard, billionaire, maybe not in what we're doing, unfortunately. But that's the one thing that I really want to take into account and really take and consider is, how can I actually manage my shit better? How can I be more efficient? How can I format my systems, strategies and SOPs in a way that actually works in line with me to scale my company? And if I do bring someone into my business, how can I get them integrated, trained and active as soon as fucking possible, guys? Yeah, so a little bit of a different video. I'm just trying to really educate and create awareness for the type of stuff that a lot of people aren't actually doing in business. And if you got any questions or comments, please drop it into the comments. If not, I will see you on the next video, guys.